6 minutes past 8. James Tracy is with us this morning to reflect on the weekend and look forward to next weekend. That was all a bit too easy, was it?
Yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming. Just the excitement and the build up. But you know what? I think you have to tip the cap to how good the Lions were as well. Like, they were immense in that first half. Yeah, obviously there was plenty of work-ons from the second half, but I suppose for the overall spectacle, it was good that Australia were able to come back in the game. But I think how they went about their business in that first half was nothing short of incredible. I think they finally kind of clicked on tour. And,
Yeah. Why does that happen? Was that like just all these warm-up games? They're massively important, and then actually, yeah, the full stadium happens, and you look across, and it's actually Joe Schmidt, and it's actually the Wallabies, and you're like, oh, now I have an extra 10%.
Yeah, it just means more, and you're able to find a little bit more. But also the cohesion of playing all those games together and understanding the system and getting into that state where you're actually just playing and not thinking about, okay, what does that call mean, or where am I meant to be standing here, and all those little things, and even little things that they did so well. They exited so well, and they didn't let Australia exit well at all. The first 10 points, all from the Lions. One, obviously that first turnover from Byrne, but Australia they overplay a little bit because they catch the ball in a box kickable area on the right hand side, but they played two passes to try get to the left hand side of the field, I'm sure, to box kick. I'm not sure they'll have the same. If you've got like Curry and Tyke Byrne in a back row opposite you, and like Itoje would come into that as well as a good poacher. You don't really want to be giving them targets to get into the game, especially you've received the kick, you've done well, you've fielded it. Get rid of the ball. And then, the Lions receive the kick off. They win the air through tap backs. We have the 50-22 from Finn Russell that follows on that, and all of a sudden, like, they're back under the cosh again. And when they do get something right, with McBride comes up with a really big turnover. He tosses a grenade off the back of that line out, which, remember, the breakout of the maul, and he chucks it, and it's a knock on, and then eventually leads to that try for Tuipulotu, the unbelievable over the top pass.
Sam Prendergast-esque.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think Finn is on a different level at the moment, isn't he? He's incredible.
So I'm just winding up the Munster fans here.
Yeah. But even small stuff like in that. Lowe pops the ball up to Genge, maybe like 2 phases before that pass from Russell, and it is on his bootlaces, and he picks it up and runs over someone at the same time. And it's a little, they're huge momentum swings. If you knock the ball on a metre away, it's a huge momentum swing back in Australia's favour, and they won all of those in the first half, and Australia didn't. Every time that they come up with a good moment, they'd back it up by losing the next. And what I was worried about going into the game was that they would win the aerial battle, and they didn't. And the Lions did a really good job at putting Australia under pressure and constantly turning them. So, yeah, bit deflated after the whole build-up of what it was going to be. And I think, as well, another thing, their tactic around, playing tight in and around the ruck, that if the Lions pack's just too big and strong to be able to
they kind of smashed them, didn't they?
They absolutely killed them in the contacts. And when Australia played out of those shapes, like, they actually look quite dangerous. And I think that'll probably be a change in tactic. I hope that they take on this weekend, is that they start playing out of those shapes a little more, because they actually look dangerous when they have the ball on hand. They do need to pick a few bigger bodies, though.
Well, and they have a few bigger bodies coming back. In the injured, the cavalry are about to arrive. But did they play that way because they thought they were going to have Skelton and a beefier pack, and then not change when they didn't have those players? It felt like it was like we've done all this practice now for such a long period of time, we're going to stick with it and see how we get. When you can't just do that, can you?
It did seem that way. You also have to layer in, you've an inexperienced play caller in there. So like there was an element of naivety in how they ran kind of down cul-de-sacs, and we're just getting eaten up by a really experienced, really hungry Lions pack. So that's definitely a factor as to why they played into the Lions' hands a tiny bit in the first half. But I think if they actually exited a little bit smarter and just box clever, they would have been in the game more, and they wouldn't have been chasing it. It's always hard starting the game off 10-0 down, because you have to play more and you have to play differently. And against a big angry side that just want to get off the line and whack you and get in for poaches and steals, it's just not the way to do it. But ironically, the Lions even looked like they'd done their homework more than Australia. You know, like comparatively, look at the two over the top line out throws. You know, like I was amazed looking at Curry because, you know, Curry, I've probably looked at him as an opposition player, and you know, you don't maybe go as deep into the understanding of their psyche, but like he's looking at the hooker for the whole time that he gets that read of the over the top ball. And why I think it's impressive from that point of view is when I'm in that would have been in that position, I would have probably got my read off of. Usually you can kind of get an idea that the 12 is kind of nudging that he's going to run because he's to come from back 10, and that's maybe a bit easier body language to read. He reads it off the torque that the hooker is taking it back. He's like, this guy's overextended a bit. That doesn't seem to be anyone yeah, he's already making his move when he sees the ball coming out of the hooker's hands, which just incredible level of detail and video that he's done. And there was another few moments as well. But conversely, when Jack Conan catches it over the top, the Australians are standing there still looking at the line at the halfback. So that was the bit that I did not see coming, where a lot of those Aussie players, and I've no doubt that Joe Schmidt would have been hammering it into them, but they just didn't react in the moment for whatever reason. And the Lions looked so prepped. That Tyg Byrne, his last turnover when they the 6-man line out and he comes from the back of the line out, and Australia do a dummy maul and they do a break down the front and he holds him up and turns it over. Again, straight out of the video room, that he's done his homework on where they win the line out, what's my next job. He comes around the front and he deals with it. And so they're more physical, and it looked like they were more on the ball and harder working and better prepared. So Australia had no chance really. You know, they have to be at least winning, outsmarting the Lions and being just as prepared if the Lions are going to be that prepared. And then they just got to hope that they have, you know, some of their top players have a few big moments. I think the Lions did a really good job at shutting down Australia's threats as well. You didn't really see Swahili get into the game because he was getting, like, I wouldn't say smashed, but he was getting dealt with every time he carried the ball. He didn't really get that many opportunities in the air,
like in very non-dangerous, non-threatening positions.
Yeah.
There was always 2 or 3 people around him. Matt Williams reckoned that the Lions had cracked the code of the Wallabies line-out. Did it look like that?
I wouldn't say they cracked the code, but I think they hedged their bets quite well. And
he thought they knew the calls.
Well, Matt has some. Listen, Matt might know more than the rest of us, but I wouldn't go that far. I would say what they did very well was they showed a picture, as in like they stood in one spot, and as the line out unfolded, they would have done their homework that they'd be maybe 2 dummies here and chase after here. Like Ty Byrne did that a couple of times, where he'd start maybe in the middle, he'd let a dummy happen, and he'd come forward into the space behind it. And his kind of second last steal was exactly that, where you're in the head of the caller. Really, you're showing them it's free here, and then letting them get to there, and then taking it away at the last second. I wouldn't say they necessarily knew the calls, but maybe they did.
You used the word deflated earlier on about the whole thing. I definitely found myself the Lions are such an unusual concept that at 17-5 up, I was thinking, oh, please Australia score a try here. Now, listen, there's only 8 points in it at the end. I'm not sure that was a fully fair reflection. We're going to talk about like team selection, and we will do over the next couple of weeks. I wonder, like, you know, is there 45 players in the squad at the minute, something like that? Like, is there any combination of those 45 players that they could put out there that wouldn't beat this, you know, Skelton and Vellatini to come back? Notwithstanding, this could look like absolute nonsense now next week. But on the evidence that we have so far, any combination of those 45 players that you see that wouldn't beat this Australia team? No,
I think there is. Because we we have to not be too hard on the fact that the Lions were exceptional. I think they really nailed their game plan. And they were so physical. I think the team, that pack especially, and the halfback pairing are off the charts, and they were off the charts good, and they had a great day. So I think it probably would be a bit unfair to say that any of them could.
So you
could roll
do
in
see a
and beat
kick in Australia. This isn't.
I think they had a really bad game. Had a really bad day. I don't think they're going to have as bad a day again this weekend. I hope anyway. But I'd be shocked if they haven't at least taken learnings from being in the camp with Joe and how detailed he is. But I suppose if they come out this weekend and they get hammered, you would then question what sort of buy-in that they have to, because I know from experience how prepped you are going into games under Joe Schmidt, and regardless if you like how he's from a fan's point of view, how he approaches games or his team selections, etc. As a player, you are the most prepared you will ever be for any training session or game under him, and that's his system. It's a script, and you follow the script, you most likely win the game. They didn't. The Australians did not look like they were a Joe Schmidt coached side on the weekend in terms of the moments that they missed, where it's body language, it's traits, it's stuff that you could have learned from video, and they just seem to miss moments, and it's very uncharacteristic of a Joe Schmidt side. So I'm hoping that that's not going to repeat itself again, and it's going to be a way more competitive game this weekend. But if they get hammered out the gate, I would be massively looking at that this player group just haven't really bought into his system, his way of playing and coaching.
Do you see it going 1-1?
Do I see it going 1-1? No, I don't. I think everything about me on the weekend coming into the game wanted Australia to even win the game, weirdly, and I think you touched on that as well. Just to really set it alight this tour, but I kind of had a deep feeling knowing that the Lions were going to be, their pack was going to be too good, and that half-back pairing, as I said, never. I'm excluding how good the centres were amazing. I think the back three probably out of everyone had maybe the weakest game, but they've such a good side, and I just felt like they were going to be too much for Australia, even though Australia had improved. I still think that this weekend, I think a lot was confirmed in that first half to all the doubts that I had about Australia, and I'd hope from knowing Joe that he maybe could turn this team around. But I think through the injuries and a few of the players that they were missing, and a lot of the players that played had a bit of an off day. I just can't see them. I just can't see them beating this Lions team.
Let's talk about changes for the weekend, right? The back three probably feel a little bit of pressure. What happens? You think he doesn't tend to make massive changes. He tends to change one player here or there. Maybe some injury enforced players in the pack. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what would you do with the back three?
I think the only players that could come in are Hansen, Kinghorn, and Ringrose, and not all three of them. I think they are the three that could potentially get in for a start. And I think if Ringrose gets in, it opens the conversation for Aki starting and Tui Bladu filling that 23 jersey. But the Scottish guys were so good that it's hard. I think it is hard, and they do have the chemistry. And I think no one's going to be upset if they have Aki and Ringrose starting. Maybe the Scottish contingent will be a little upset, but I mean, as a Lions core, and if you take all of your alliances out for a second, I think the games that they had together, Aki and Ringrose, they were exceptional.
And they were the first choice until Ringrose got his head injury.
Yeah, so I feel like if they wanted to fresh things up, and that was all the changes they're going to make, I think bringing those two in, assuming Ringrose comes on and has another good game. I think he was one of the players that tore until he got that concussion. I think that could happen. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. I think Ringrose is more likely to probably fill that 23 jersey. The only other one that I think is possible to happen would be either Kinghorn or Hansen to come in for Freeman. Now, Freeman is exceptional. Like he was in the form of his life coming into this tour. I'm just not sure. It doesn't sit with me yet of how comfortable he is chasing high balls. It's like that isn't necessarily his strength. Now, when the ball's been kicked to him from the opposition team, he's brilliant at feeling it. With the ball in hand, he's electric. but he has to, in this role, chase a lot of high balls, and I just feel like he's not at his best doing that, and that is the only reason. Like, people are like, well, what about Lowe? He didn't have the best game of the tour on the weekend, but what he does have is that left foot exit, and the value of that on the left wing is why he's more cemented in than maybe a Freeman would be.
Okay.
But I think Kinghorn needs to play unbelievably well and show like really good, win a few high balls going forward in the air for it to be a conversation. What do I think will happen? I still think it'll be the same back three.
That's right. Kinghorn would be coming in at fullback for Keenan.
No, I think Kinghorn comes in the wing.
Okay.
And then it opens up the bench to be, I think you can change, if you have Ringrose as your 23, it means you can have, or Hansen as your 23, but I think Ringrose, you could put on Farrell in because you have yourself covered for fullback. You don't need Mark Smith in there.
Okay.
And again, if on Farrell shoots the lights out, I think he can potentially get himself in there.
Cover and Ringrose is your wing cover.
Exactly.
Cover
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pack the same. That's. Is that a bit controversial?
Is it?
Was that not the one area that Australia actually would have felt they had a bit of maybe we won't go quite say as far as dominance, but they were decent. There was like Alan Alatoa gets one over on Tyke Furlong, I think, towards the end.
I think if you're to just solely look at the scrum, I think yes, definitely you have an argument from that point of view. But I think if you were to take the game as a whole, I think the pack was unbelievably dominant. I think around line out, carry, contacts, they obliterated Australia. And Chesham coming in for McCarthy is the only change if McCarthy doesn't get through the week. That's the one that I have. And if Chesham does come in, then I think the back five playing today are all fighting it. I think the best of them gets a bench spot that Chesham is vacating to start on the weekend if Joe McCarthy doesn't get through. And I think that could be James Ryan. I think Scott Cummins has been incredible this tour. I think unbelievable, in such good form. You have obviously Morgan, who's been incredible.
Van der Fleer and Pollock. That's a good one, five,
isn't it? Yeah, and like unbelievable battle. So we'll see. Very exciting day because there's probably, maybe six or seven players that are playing today that have a chance of being involved, and they know that as well. I'm sure Andy Farrell has made it clear. Been like the best of the bunch is going to be putting their hand up for this weekend. So there's your why for a few lads today to shoot the lights out. But yeah, who would you have put in the?
Well, like I was going to ask how many times you've been asked how good is Dan Sheehan, but maybe it won't come from that angle. But I saw a stat early in the game where it was like his Lions throwing stats before the game was 97%. I can't remember him missing a line out.
No, I didn't.
Ronan Kelleher did.
Yeah.
Does he come under a little bit of pressure, do you think? Or there was that, and the Tyke Furlong conversation I've seen in a few places has kind of bubbled up a little bit on the basis of maybe that penalty specifically from Alatoa, but you're not having that.
No, I'm not having it. No, I think Tyke had a brilliant game. I think he's in the best form that we've seen in the last couple of years.
His out half abilities are pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, he has that obviously as well, but even like how he takes the ball to the line and going to give it back to Finn or whoever's at the back of the shapes, and his carrying in general, a few that he made for some big hits around the park. He's very good at organising, and that's probably something that's hard to appreciate unless you've played with him. He's a bit of a leader. He's obviously gas when he gets going in the media, but he doesn't seem like a loud character. He's a big voice in that group and in any group that he's in now. I think that means it's probably an intangible thing that maybe everyone doesn't look at when they're picking their team, and you look at maybe a scrum penalty and you put that against him. I think for what he brings around tactics in scrum, I think that he'll learned a lot the last day of what Australia have shown now. Usually very adaptable in the game, and then what he brings around the field, I think he starts again. If Will Stewart had come on and torn trees out of the ground, I think there's an argument there, but I don't think he did. He also gave away a penalty when he came on for an offside, so it wasn't a flawless performance for him. Still a class player, but I just don't justify. I think you keep that front eight really together, I think. And
Ronan Kelleher not under any pressure on the bench.
It's definitely a conversation. I'm not sure what went wrong with the different lineouts, so that's a conversation that only they know. I've had plenty of overthrows in my life that were my fault, and I've had plenty that weren't. So we don't know.
You never admitted it at the time, though. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish that crooked rule was in when I was in. But the only real ones that'll know is the whoever is in charge of dealing with their line-out system, which Utoje was on the pitch. So between himself and Ronan, they'll know where the mistakes were. If they were solely on Ronan, then I think it's definitely a conversation of who do you bring in, someone else to shore up the line-out. But I think what Ronan brings around the field, scrum, and when that whatever cohesion between himself and the caller is good, I think he's more than worthy to start again or on the bench again.
Fast forward to the next Six Nations, and our out half is in the air catching a ball, and Tom Curry comes and smashes him. That's a yellow card all day long, I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I think whatever side you're on, it's as much as I loved the hit at the time, it was. I don't think he could have argued if it was a yellow card, but probably his only real flaw in the game. He was unbelievable.
It's I don't know. Does it change anything? They were so physically dominant. But it does allow the Australians to have a foothold in the game in a way. It gives them back possession. Yeah, I don't know. These decisions do have a material impact.
Huge, yeah. Like the Test matches swing on moments, and like the Genge picking up off his bootlaces is as much of a sliding doors moment as if that's a yellow card versus not, and that's unfortunately live sport where it's like. Sometimes you're at the discretion of someone, and sometimes it's a skill moment that is what can flip. So maybe an underappreciated thing of what can happen, and things just change in a heartbeat. So yeah, 100%. It was a slide. It would have been a huge momentum swing, and God knows what could have happened at the end of the game if they're down a man.
Let's just fast forward to a world where Curry's injury and McCarthy's injury mean that they decide not to risk them. You don't lose that much by putting Chessum and is it Van der Fleer or is it Pollock into the team for the game?
Or Morgan.
What would you do if they're out? What's?
I think, as I said, it's whoever plays the best out of those three
today
comes in. Yeah.
And can you play 80 minutes today and go again?
I don't think that if someone has an unbelievable first half, I think probably
actually this is the first half of your life, lads.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think whoever gets taken off first is most likely going to be that guy who comes in. If I was to guess, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why that check the subs at half time to see to read the runes.
How good Tyg Byrne?
Is it like as good a performance as we've seen from him?
Yeah. The thing is though, he's probably had about 15 of those performances, but
under pressure.
I've been shouting against him for half of them and shouting for him for the other half. But yeah, he's just. I also need to admit that I was wrong that he's at 6 that he was. I said he was a world class second row, and at 6 he was an exceptional player, but he doesn't get the moments that he's not in the game as much. But whatever way they set up the last day, and maybe they've set up like that before, but I don't think they have. That he seemed to be involved a lot more and more central. And he just did his thing. He was incredible, and his ability to sniff out a poach, a turnover, to be nailed on with his detail, to get him in the right position to do amazing things. He's just someone you want to have. He's a warrior, isn't he? And he's just someone you want to have on your side.
We had that Roy Keane, Marco Overmars moment after about 20 seconds where he gets in and poaches the ball. It's like, here we are.
Yeah.
I compared it to
Test match animal.
On the first at the Open. It's like, this is over.
Yeah.
That's the end of that now. If he's going to be doing that today, you got to know that there's no chance here for anybody. I don't know. There is it's like he kind of killed the soul of. Shit.
Yeah.
Don't start badly, lads. All right in front. Chip kick. Thanks very much. Sorry, we should talk Finn Russell because.
Oh, wow.
Imagine if Finn Russell had played his entire career behind it. I don't know, maybe his maturity is also a factor in all this. Bear in mind, he had a massive row with his head coach and left the team for a couple of years. But if you've been playing behind a good pack his entire life, would we be talking about Finn Russell as one of the all-time greats?
There is definitely I think his move to Bath and whatever decision he made in his own head to buy into the way that Johan had set them up to play. I think that's also a factor. I think maybe maturing a tiny bit and going through the different phases and what enjoyment it gives him in the game. I think all of it factors in. But no one ever doubted his talent. Like, he was always that guy who was the most talented, but was just a bit loose.
Yeah.
And he's just tightened up the loose bits now. And he's just the biggest freak ever. And yes, he's behind a great pack, and he's got, you know, one of the best lines in the world beside him. But I think even if you didn't have that, he would still be in that conversation now of one of the greats. Yeah, he's incredible. He's unbelievable.
This year, so he'll be 35 when the World Cup rolls around. But you don't feel like it's not a burst of pace that he has that he's going to lose, that it's going to diminish him.
No, he's got plenty of runway ahead of him. He's hit a level now where he's proper world class, and I'm trying to compare even his goal kicking, and it's probably, you just take it for granted because he just gets every kick.
Yeah,
he is exceptional at every core skill. You see even how he's organising. I'm just loving how his relationship with Gibson Park as well. I think they complement each other, and I think we were all excited about to see how they get on and if it would work. But my God, does it? And he's in the conversation as one of the best lines out halves with the performances he's had. But there will always be an asterisk, been like, well, you were playing against a weakened side, so that is the other side. But what you're
how
seeing,
exciting would this be if we were playing South Africa?
Yeah,
the whole world would be watching, going, "This is incredible. Look at Razzie. Look at what he's done. Listen to the shit he's saying," and we would actually be enjoying it all. This is all like, all right, see you in 12 years, lads.
What about so actually he was talking about after the game, he was talking about, like, in the warm-up he's taking a few kicks and they're going a bit awry, and Owen Farrell comes up and says, listen, stop, because you're missing them, stop rushing them, take it easy, take a breath, just do your same thing again. So that thing, that transference of skills, the Paul O'Connell, Justin Tipperick example is the one that came into my head, where he talked about in that tour where Justin Tipperick was this immense chop tackler and then Ireland set off on that path. So you have that, and so that transference of ideas and all of that stuff that goes on within the camp, and then you have Andy Farrell's tactics, some of which have been like rinse and repeat from Ireland stuff. Does all of this come to Six Nations next year, looking ahead to World Cups, leave Ireland in a stronger or weaker position?
I would say it would definitely not help, because it strengthens other teams. I wouldn't say it weakens Ireland. I'd say it strengthens other teams, just getting a perspective on, you know, what you're trying to do, how you go about things. And, you know, like Ireland will be doing, they'll be picking the brains of the other teams as well. But I think when you're in the system that Ireland play, and you get a fair understanding of it, it just helps you, especially for Finn Russell, set up your tactic against a team a little bit better. And that's what I'd be a little bit worried about. But it's a trade-off that you have to take, and that's the reality of it. And I think you have smart enough people in there, with Andy Farrell, Johnny, etc., that they will evolve between this Lions tour.
We're going to burn whatever we're using for Ireland.
There'll be an element of, yes, this is the foundation of what we do, but they'll evolve between now, because they know that's the reality of, they would have taken stuff from other teams when they were involved in Lions tours. So they'll have to move forward and keep adapting. One
last one for me, speaking about taking stuff, smelling salts. So, like, the last couple of dressing room scenes that I've seen, you could see the players going over and getting a lash of this stuff. Was it James Ryan at some point a couple of games ago? And obviously the famous clip now with Tyg Byrne.
It's Tyg Byrne, yeah.
Jack Conan, not all that happy. Is that I didn't appreciate it. Is it a big thing?
It's certain individuals are into it. Again, it's just to get hit to the kind of nervous system, really. Of
just it wakens you up a bit. Like.
Yeah. It just heightens that. You're like aware. Like it gives you a big burst of, like, it's like getting a punch in the face without getting a punch in the face, and you're just in fight or flight moment. And you can kind of calm yourself down, but you're calming yourself down from up here versus trying to get yourself up. It gives you that quick boost, just to properly waking you up. I never really got into it, but some people are kind of swear by it. Just get them going. But it'd be like, it's just it's an individual thing, you know. So, some people have deals, you know. You watch, say, Finn Russell, and he's kind of chill, keep you up easy, and then you have people whacking their head off the wall. Like, everyone has their own way of getting themselves ready for it. But I'd say it's common enough throughout different sports.
Australia are as big underdogs as Tipperary were, so it's not a done deal.
No, it's definitely a done deal, and that's international rugby. Lions will have to reach the same levels that they did in that first half again for at least 50 minutes of the game, and the bench are going to have to do a better job. The one I'll tip the cap to Australia. I was very, very confident that the Lions were going to smash them in the scrum, and they didn't. If anything, Australia won that battle, and clutching at straws, really coming away from it, but that was definitely an area. And if you're bringing big Will Skelton in, all of a sudden maybe that swings it in your favour. If they win the air and they can get scrum dominance, it's a completely different picture. And if they're on their detail, and that's not a lot of things to be on, you can focus big time on the scrum during the week. The detail, if it's just people panicking in the moment or not being present in the moment of everything that they've learned, when you've got that first test out of the way, the nerves aren't there the same that they were the first time around. You've lost, so you're back against the wall. You've got nothing to lose. They should be able to play a bit freer. Okay. I'm hoping all of this.
I know, and at least that'll be a much better game, because it was one of those games in the first half where you could check your phone and you were like, oh, there's the scrum, it's going to take 5 minutes, and there was no jeopardy in that at all. So, all right. James, good stuff. Thanks a million. A reminder, Off the Ball Breakfast is with UPMC Orthopaedic Care. When things don't move, rotate, or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action.